nature nut, I'm not afraid to admit. I'm wild about the wild things and I'm proud of it. I'm just a simple case, open and shut. No doubt about it, I'm a nature nut. Today we'll go bird watching, tomorrow we'll catch toads. The next day we'll take photographs of bugs along the road. I never get the feeling that I'm in a rut. That's why I'm a nature nut. Well, I'm a nature nut, I'm not afraid to admit. I'm wild about the wild things and I'm proud of it. I'm just a simple case, open and shut. No doubt about it, I'm a nature nut.
Hello there, nature nuts. How are you? I'm in southeast Arizona, a place where nature itself is a one-man band. This is one of the great spots for biodiversity, and that's why nature nuts like me like to come here to see all of the interesting critters that you can find all the way from the deserts, in behind me there, the low ground where things are flat and hot, and there are big green saguaro cacti, you know, the cowboy cactus. Beautiful things all the way up the hills. There are these nifty mountain ranges here, you know, called the, well, there's various different mountain ranges. Some people call them the Mexican mountains. Some people call them the Sky Islands. And they come poking up out of the desert, and they are fascinating in their own right because you get high enough up and there's a whole different community. There are forests of oak and pine and things like that. And ooh, it's very, very interesting. You can't just think of this area, you know, the Tucson area, in terms of the desert. You have to think of it in terms of the desert and the mountains, and that's why we're here. Ooh, it's a fascinating subject. Right now, I'm about halfway between, and moments ago, we found a rattlesnake, a western diamondback rattlesnake, sunning, warming itself up, getting ready for another day. So, if that's not a beautiful sign, I don't know what is. Well, now let's compare the two most obvious kinds of plants in these two environments. First of all, the saguaro cactus. Some people call it the giant saguaro cactus, some people just call it the cowboy cactus, but this is the classic great big cactus of the Sonoran Desert. It has spines like just about any other cactus, and it's a cactus. They're magnificent things that can grow to be, you know, 200 years old, and they're incredible. During the rainy season, they take on water. They can actually increase in weight by as much as a ton. And the flower of the saguaro cactus, which is a nice little white flower, happens right up on top of the cactus, is Arizona's state flower as well. So, how can you go wrong with a beautiful thing like a saguaro cactus? And then you get up into the mountains and you've got oak woodlands, and of course an oak tree is a classic thing as well. It's a tremendous classic. Now these are not the same kinds of oak trees that you find in eastern woodlands, but there are lots of different species of oak trees. Most of the ones around here are called emery oaks, and yeah, their leaf is a little different than what you might be used to, but it's still recognizably an oak tree leaf. And they've got acorns, and the only trees that have acorns are oak trees, you know, with the little nut part and then the cap on the nut. It's really obvious. That's what makes an oak tree an oak tree. And these acorns are edible to both us and other creatures, and yeah, they're pretty nice places to be, these oak woodlands. Now, of course, when most people think of saguaros, they don't just think of saguaros. They think of the whole desert ecosystem, this fantastic place we call the Lower Sonoran Desert, and all of the nifty critters that live here. Things that are really classic desert-adapted animals like roadrunners, and they are fantastic. They're nothing like the cartoon roadrunners. They're actually a member of the cuckoo family, and their scientific name means ground cuckoo. So that's a roadrunner. And then of course there are things like tarantulas here, and even a weird little critter called a cactus wren, a bird that actually nests in cactus. Not in saguaros though, but hey, who cares? It's just such a fantastic environment filled with nifty stuff, so we've got lots to look for as we explore around. But of course, your oak woodland has an entirely characteristic fauna as well. Different kinds of animals and birds that live here. Many of them are unique species that can't be found anywhere else, at least north of the Mexican border. Some really interesting kinds of critters like that. Some of them are migrants, some of them are, well, critters that are characteristic of places further north. So it's a real interesting assortment of critters, and I'll tell you, when nature nuts come to southeast Arizona, they want to see both.
There are between 300 and 500 different species of oak trees on Earth today.
All right, now if you were an oak tree, how would you go about getting your acorn seeds planted? I mean, both oaks and saguaros are plants with really big seeds, so they can't rely on the wind like a dandelion. They can't just let the wind blow it away like a little bit of down on the breeze. No, this is a big seed, and there's no point in having it just fall right beside the parent tree, or it'll compete with the tree itself. And it's, you know, you want to start out in a nice sunny spot where you've got a future. So, you know what they do? They use animals. And for the oaks, one of the animals that's really helpful is the Mexican jay. So what they do is they hide acorns so they can find them and eat them later. And they're amazingly good at remembering where those acorns are. They'll hide thousands of them, and they'll dig them into the ground with their pointy little beaks. And of course they will forget some of them, but most of them they remember. And the ones they forget have a chance to sprout and become brand new oak trees. Now, of course, the birds that eat cactus seeds, which are inside the cactus fruit, they don't have to remember where they are because it's obvious where they are. They're right on top of the cactus. This is not a saguaro cactus, by the way. This is a barrel cactus. The reason we're using a barrel cactus is because it's a shorter kind of a cactus. It's very difficult to get up to the top of a saguaro, where the saguaro fruits are, and that's why birds are the things that distribute the seeds of saguaro cactus. But how do they get from here to the ground? Well, let me tell you. You know what that is? That's a whoopee cushion. Let me tell you, nothing in my scientific training prepared me to deliver a whoopee cushion joke on television. But you get the point. The birds eat the fruit. Birds like, I'm thinking of curve-billed thrashers and birds like that. I've seen curve-billed thrashers poking into these cactus fruits with their long curved bills. And they swallow the fruit, which is of course the cactus's little offering to them, a little bit of food, and in the process they swallow the seeds as well. The seeds pass through their digestive systems unharmed. Then they sit up in a nice little mesquite bush or something like that. They poop out the seeds, and the little baby saguaro cactus grow in the shade of the bush. It's so nice. And the little cactus, they're so cute. They look like little green spiky pop cans growing in the desert. You know, it's really amusing to watch birds try to land on these cactus too. It seems like the smaller birds don't have too much trouble getting their little toes in among the spines. I guess it should be like a bed of nails, you know, if you distribute your weight evenly on enough little prickle points, then no one prickle is going to poke you right through. But I'll tell you, I once saw a great horned owl land on top of a saguaro. It was the funniest thing. It had its tail right up in the air and it looked like a chicken. Thought it was a chicken. Anyway, you might notice there are a lot of little orange ants poking around in here too. They don't look like they're going for the fruit. I've heard that some of these cactus have extra floral nectaries, but that's a whole nother story. They're little places that make nectar that are not part of the flower. That's what extra floral means. And I don't know what kind of ants these are, but it gets the point across. There's a weird little ecosystem on the top of every one of these cacti out here in the Sonoran Desert.
Saguaro flowers are pollinated not by insects or birds, but by long-tongued nectar-feeding bats.
Well, this oak woodland is a very squirrely place. There are squirrels all around us here. These squirrels are Arizona gray squirrels. They love to eat acorns. They're burying the acorns in the ground. And, you know, even though they look a lot like the gray squirrel back east, they're actually more closely related to the fox squirrel. Squirrels is a big, complicated subject, but you can't help but see squirrels when you're up here in the oak woodlands. Down in the desert, well, there are lots of rodents in general, and a few antelope squirrels, which are a small ground squirrel, but most of what you see in the desert is rabbits and you know, hares, things like the desert cottontail, which is a cute little bunny, and my favorite, the black-tailed jackrabbit. It's a great big long-legged, long-eared, lanky, desert-adapted thing. Very, very beautiful. I can never get enough of the black-tailed jackrabbit, a real desert classic. So what do you think of these great woodpeckers all around us here? You know, everywhere you go in North America, it seems that there's some different kind of woodpecker that's really common. Here, that's the acorn woodpecker, and I got to admit, it's my absolute favorite. I mean, there's the Nuttall's woodpecker and the Lewis's woodpecker and the Strickland's woodpecker. Why not the acorn woodpecker? Actually, it's not named after anybody named Acorn. It's, of course, named after what it eats, which is acorns from oak trees. And the interesting thing about acorn woodpeckers is that they don't just pluck the acorns and eat them. They take the acorns and they store them in little holes that they drill in the sides of trees or in power poles or even the sides of wooden buildings. They make a nice little cribbage board of holes, and then they tuck one acorn in each hole. And they don't just do it by themselves, they do it in big groups. They're very social woodpeckers. They even cooperate in the rearing of the young. A very sophisticated, incredible species, very impressive indeed. Now, of course, down in the desert, you don't see acorn woodpeckers, you see a completely different sort of woodpecker. The Gila woodpecker is the common one there. It actually drills holes in the cactus, the saguaro cactus, and lives right inside the cactus. You also see flickers down in the desert, and you know, that's all right. Woodpecker's a woodpecker. Gotta like every one of them.
Out in the desert where it's good and hot, you gotta hang on to the water that you got. Water is scarce here, so is shade. That sun'll burn you up, I'm afraid.
You get up in the hills to where it's nice and hot. You find it's colder there and it ain't so dry. Some big old trees up there, I declare they'd be fun to climb.
Saguaro, tallest thing around.
That's right.
Saguaro, but your leaves just can't be found. Tomorrow I'll find a better climbing tree, one that won't stick spines in me. Ouch! Ugh. Mercy. Well, sometimes there's critters living right inside that cactus. To find the door at night would really take some practice. But once you're up there, I bet the view's nice. It's kinda like a prickly green high-rise, don't you think?
The mighty oak tree has a muscular root system. It would take a manly wind even just to twist them. Isn't it amazing how something quite so large can be coming from such tiny little nuts? See?
Saguaro, tallest thing around.
That's right.
Saguaro, but your leaves just can't be found. Tomorrow I'll find a better climbing tree, one that won't stick those spines in me. Ouch! Oh, yeah.
Play that musical instrument.
Yeah, throw me that rope. That's better. Saguaro is the tallest thing around. Saguaro, but there's no leaves to be found. Tomorrow I'll find a better climbing tree, one that won't stick spines in you or me. Saguaro, tallest thing around.
You know, you look at these oak trees long enough and eventually you're going to notice strange, mysterious swellings on the leaves and on the stem. And the key to understanding those swellings is noticing that some of them have a hole in them. Isn't that interesting? Now, those holes are made by insects, but they're not the holes of something drilling in. It's the hole of something coming out, because those swellings are actually galls. Galls are really nifty things. Oak trees are particularly susceptible to getting galls on them, and galls are formed when an insect lays its egg in the tissue of the oak tree, and the oak tree produces a tumor around that egg. It's not a cancerous tumor, it's just a tumor, a benign tumor. Inside the flesh of that tumor, a little baby insect is growing up and feeding on the plant tissue. And when it's ready to emerge, of course, it has to drill a little hole to get out of the gall. So that's why you have a hole in the galls. Most of the galls on these oak trees are made by little tiny parasitic wasps that are nothing like the kind of wasp that you and I would think of when we think of the word wasp. They're little things called cynipids and other sorts of wasps like that. Very sort of dumpy looking wasps that don't sting and they don't live in hives or anything like that. They're just related to wasps and hornets. And what else can I tell you about galls? Well, there's a very peculiar belief in this part of the world that these oak trees don't actually have acorns, that they make their seeds on the leaves. It's total baloney. If anyone has the gall to tell you that, you remind them, if you don't got acorns, you don't get oak trees. You know, there's another neat part of the saguaro story. It doesn't have to do with what happens to the saguaro when it's alive, but when it's dead, when a saguaro gets cactus disease and falls over, or gets blown over in a big wind, or one of its arms gets tired and just falls off, like happened back here, then you get a rotten saguaro lying on the ground. And a saguaro rot is an amazing community full of little critters that are trying to eat the saguaro. Little critters like, you know, little chewing critters, you know what I mean? Critters that really like the saguaro because it's chewy and juicy. Critters that just like the fact that a saguaro is a moist place to be. And critters that like to eat the critters that eat the saguaro. You know, you have little, I mean, it's a, you know, sort of little community of interactions in the ecological sense. And it's amazing. I mean, you just wouldn't believe how many of these things you can find in your average saguaro. It's just outstanding. So I'm going to join up with my friend David Madison from the University of Arizona, and we're going to dig into one of these saguaro rots. Oh man, how are we going to get
Okay, so here's a really cool pseudoscorpion, big one.
How do you suggest we get him? You're just going to walk under your glove there?
I wonder if walking onto a leaf or something would work.
Oh, he's going into the next valley.
So these
That's a cool little thing.
they're pseudoscorpions that are specialists in rotting saguaros, and what they do is they hitch rides on some flies that are specialists on rotting cacti themselves, and use those flies as taxis to take them from one saguaro rot to another.
Of course, pseudoscorpions don't have a sting, so I'm not worried about anything. Besides, this little guy's only about 3 millimeters long.
But that's actually relatively big for a pseudoscorpion.
Oh yeah, the whopper. Okay, well, let's see what this magical microhabitat's like.
Okay, well, I've got some hope because I've seen that pseudoscorpion there. It means that presumably at least the cactus fly has been here to transport the pseudoscorpion.
Oh,
there.
right,
So let's see.
Without the fly? Oh, jeez.
Ooh, this looks... Oh, it's nice and goopy.
Goopy is good.
That's what we want.
Oh, yakarama. Look at all the... Wow. It is wet in there.
Oh, there's lots of stuff in here. Okay. You can see why the insects would want to be in here. It's a really nice, rich environment to grow up in if you're a fly larva or a beetle larva or something of that sort.
Okay, what do we got?
Well, we got some fly larvae in there.
Oh, yes, okay, right there.
We see the maggots, the fly larvae, but presumably it's just full of all sorts of microorganisms that are helping with the decay, including things like bacteria and fungi and so forth. But This is actually a relatively small rut, and the big ones, they would just be, there'd be a much greater diversity of insects in them. Let's see what we might have a little bit. Oh, look at that. It looks like pudding.
A big thing of pudding inside a dead cactus. How peculiar. Clearly, detective, this is what killed him. Weird.
Well, it doesn't look like there's an awful lot here that's large, other than the fly larvae.
Whew. Neat. So maybe it's not quite rotten enough for some of these things.
Right. Or it's just not, it hasn't been around long enough to attract for some of the insects to have found it yet. But it certainly shows the point that there's this rich environment that a lot of arthropods tap into because of the moisture and the cactus tissue.
You said you saw a small snake in here earlier?
Yeah. Let's see if it's still here. A lot of things hide out in these saguaro rocks just because of the moisture they provide.
Clearly not a venomous snake.
If you look there, it is.
Okay, what are you? I don't want to grab it until I know what it is. Oh, it's a little night snake or whatever they call those. There we go. Beautiful. Now I wish I could remember what it is. There's this gorgeous, look at that. And it was probably in here just because of the moisture.
Probably. And perhaps because of the other, because of the insects and other arthropods that were hiding in here too.
And it's got a neat little vertical pupil. Nice little V-shaped thing. Careful, these fangs are deadly sharp.
The little snake was a night snake, which is indeed deadly venomous, at least to lizards and frogs.
Well, all right, we've been having a lot of fun going back and forth and comparing these two extraordinary ecosystems, haven't we? I always enjoy that sort of thing. But there's one test that we've left out. The taste test. Now, what have we got here? This looks supposed to be an acorn. Looks more like a filbert. Let's check one out here. Pleasant, slightly nutty taste. That's okay. Let's just pretend they're acorns. I'm sure acorns would taste beautiful in a similar situation. Now, how about a bit of pickled prickly pear cactus pad? Doesn't that look nice? Pickly tasting, slightly gluey. Really nice, like super tough pickled eggs. And here, some cactus jelly made from cactus fruit. Nice color. Delightful, absolutely delightful. But I've got to tell you, the acorns win the taste test. Because in my opinion, acorns always win the taste test. That's why I'm a nature nut. And I hope you are too. See you again soon.
Same time each and every week, uncensored and uncut. No doubt about it, I'm a nature nut.